This podcast is supported by listeners like you. We're grateful for your tax-deductible donation at newthoughtphilly.org or the link in the episode description.
A practical prayer is a prayer that works.
These discussions between Reverend Bill Marcioni and Carol Lawrence dive into the details of how it works and how to work it.
Reverend Bill is a New Thought minister and the author of Practical Prayer for Real Results.
Your new life begins with a new thought.
Carol Lawrence is on a spiritual quest, finding the New Thought teaching after decades on the pulpit in 3 different traditional denominations.
I've got some questions.
Together, they're exploring the philosophy and activities that come together from many of the world's religions to create the practical spirituality that is New Thought.
Welcome to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I'm Carol, here with Reverend Dr. Bill Marcioni.
Looking forward to a very, very entertaining and uplifting and insightful conversation today. And I intentionally did not let you go into the details of it before we started the episode. And I specifically did not give any of my opinions because I have a feeling this is going to boomerang in several different directions. All I know is it's about abundance somehow.
Yeah. Abundance is the word that goes around, everybody wants abundance. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and you explained it in such a way that it was really a powerful, eye-opening experience in the discussion. We talked about God is abundance, and in short, what we do is pull from the abundance. This is my, my interpretation of it. Abundance is everywhere. It's everything. And you can see it in nature and all of that business. We know that. So what we are doing is actually, in my language, I'm pulling from the sea of abundance or the ocean of abundance, that which I need in the moment, because it's there in abundance. So I'm not going to deplete it, by pulling from it, but that's how I understand it. Now, that felt to me for a time, I understand it, that's something that I can do because I know it. But then there seems to be another level of that. And that is, I am abundance. How do I become or feel second nature to the abundance such that, the abundance is within me? Mm-hmm. That which I need is within me in abundance, right? But sometimes that can sound a bit, I'd say, poetic, So speak on that.
Well, it's definitely squishy.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely squishy. It's not something that's as solid as we people out here in the world that we like to control would sometimes prefer. So abundance. And then people say, I want to pray for abundance. You can't pray for abundance. We live in an infinitely abundant universe. If you think about it, there are billions of stars in billions of galaxies. And each one of those has the possibility of planets like ours with billions of living creatures on it. And there's just not a limitation in the universe. The thought that the infinite creative power that created this manifest universe doesn't have what it takes to create another solar system, it's preposterous. We would never even consider that, right?
Mm-hmm. So
if there is enough goods to create another solar system, not just a planet, a whole solar system, then whatever it is that we want to have in our experience of life is certainly possible.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean it's going to show up instantaneously just because we recognize the infinite, abundant nature of the universe. What that means is anything is possible. That abundance is everything, everywhere, everyone. And kind of got to remind ourselves sometimes it's not true that the universe is infinitely abundant except for the 3 feet around me. So we're not separate from that abundance. It is available. So then the immediate next question is, well, then how come I'm sometimes concerned about not having enough? And that has nothing to do with the abundant nature of the universe. That happens to do with the current state of distribution of the stuff, especially the stuff that we think that we want. If I want something and I don't have it right now, it's not because of abundance. It is because the experience of lack that I'm having has shown up out of that infinite abundance.
Mm-hmm.
The word that we would use for our own experience of abundance is prosperity. Because great line by the comic and philosopher Stephen Wright, who said, "You can't have everything. Where would you put it?" And it's true. Everything is there. Some of it we have access to, some of it we have ownership of, some of it we have control of, some of it we can manage in our own way. But it's all there.
Mm-hmm.
It's all there. So the spiritual practice and the practice of activating our experience of abundance, of not of abundance, but of being participants in this abundant universe, is to get into the groove of enoughness, to have the supply that we're seeking, to have that balance between what we want to experience and what we do experience.
Mm-hmm.
Does that change the question?
No, because that's I think on a practical level is what I'm feeling for me, and I'm assuming that others feel the same way. How do I live this? And I'm a big mindset person. So what I thought after you explained it, I said, okay, all right, I haven't been correct. I'm not upset, but I got it now. And it makes perfect sense. So it's a fit, right? I got this.
Mm-hmm.
But how then do I live this? And I had to make it very personal in terms of I have to think a certain way. I have to do a mind shift a certain way or to a certain something in order for that thing to come alive in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And there are more spiritual terms than that, more better terms. But in reality, I'm thinking, okay, how do I make this come alive in my life? How do I need to think about this? There are certain things that I need. And I just, and I stopped worrying about it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, all I have is what I've got. Not just what I have that I can touch and feel, but all I have to work with is what is inside of me. So
Mm-hmm.
put it to work. And there's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an incredible book in terms of learning to budget and all that. And there's one little part in the book where he says, your money is like your kids. Give them an assignment, give them something to do. And I said, that's cool. I could do that. And I'll be darned if I didn't keep hassling my kids. Right? I just said, okay, this is the assignment. This is what you will do. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll give what I can do, but you got to do this. And it made a big difference. It made a huge difference. And I was so shocked. And why should I be shocked? Because that's the way it works. Right?
Yeah.
You can only have what you can have. You can only have what you've got.
Well, you can have more, but then the question becomes, what's making you want more? And what do you think is going to change when you have it?
Well, not so much an external having of things, but internally,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I have to work with, period.
Right.
I love music, and I told you over my lifetime, I've had all kinds of keyboards, grand piano, all of this stuff in my house. And two of the instruments right off that I can think of really outclass me. So, why did I get them? Because I thought I would be able to, be better if I had the better external stuff. But it really wasn't that at all. It was me.
Mm-hmm.
The change. So I started saying, well, what do you have? You don't have the innate skill to play this instrument that has outclassed you. Okay. You can handle a couple of keyboards. That's it.
Right.
So, and looking down a checklist of other things. Just work with what you got.
Mm-hmm.
The best you can and go for it.
Yeah, and what as a recovering perfectionist, I spent a lot of time saying, well, if I can't do something to a level of excellence, I'm not going to do it at all. And I missed out on a lot of things that are fun to do, whether you do them the best or not. And so now I've let go of the perfectionist thing, and I'm just having fun. And it's going okay. And sometimes I compare myself to other people who are doing the same sorts of thing, and they might be doing it a lot better than me, and I wonder if they're having as much fun. And the experience that we have of enoughness, of prosperity, we want to have the great grand piano, and we want to be able to play it at the level that somebody plays the great grand piano. And one of those things is possible to control. And the other thing, that might not be the gift. So the mindset, and if I'm not able to play the piano as well as I'd like to be able to play the piano, and I just don't have the innate talent, the skill, the ability to do that, that's where suffering comes from. So you were saying, what's the spiritual practice that you can do to be okay with the level of abundance that you have? And to me, it all starts with an exhale. Breathe out. Let go of everything. And then be grateful for the next breath that comes in, because you got that. And we are able to let go of that life-giving breath and breathe it out and know that there's an infinitely abundant supply, that the next breath is on its way, and use that as a reminder that everything works that way. Let go of my attachment to having things the way I said that they should be, and be okay with where they are, and then see what happens next. I might have this wonderful grand piano in my living room, and I have no idea how to play it. And then suddenly the guy who moves in next door is a concert level, pianist, and he doesn't have his own piano. Oh, can I come over and play the piano at your house? Well, sure.
It can be, it's so many ways that this thing can go. For me, the first grand piano I had, I can't remember how I gave it away. I gave it away. And then I had a clavinova, and that is a high level instrument. Don't have it now. But so I kind of stood still, and I bring the ocean in a lot because I've learned so much from that. So there's a very long pier on the ocean where the guys and the gals are fishing, and a lot of them are fishing for different fish. They're not all trying to get the same thing. They're using different bait. And so I'm learning from just little conversations with them as they pass by. How'd you do today? And then I'll ask them what they're using. And it just kind of translates in my mind. This is what's the spiritual message in this? And it's what do I have, in my bucket that's worth a lot, as opposed to trying to pull from something else and be dissatisfied. What have I got? And that leads to appreciating yourself and confidence. And it's just a whole big thing, but you got to start somewhere. And so let's use the piano for a minute. So I leveled off. I don't have the the gloriously fancy clavinova anymore. And I was very happy not to have it because it belonged with someone else that could do, that really could do more with it than I could. But I do have a keyboard. I do have a very nice keyboard, and it's consistent with me. I can handle it. But it's where I am. It's not going to go anywhere. The whole, it's just, I'm happy with that. But then I looked at what else I do have and started appreciating that. And saying there is an abundance of that in me. Is there a problem why you're not interested in that? I mean, is it okay? Let me take a crack at that. And then abundance appeared. And I'm not talking about the normal idea of it being money and prosperity, but I'll just say abundance appeared. And I thought, how about that? It's
How
like
about that?
getting recognizing the different flavors of abundance and the different kinds and how it shows up. And there's more than you can't use it all, I don't think. I think every time I dip in, there's more there, much to my surprise.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's take a break. And actually, I'm going to invite the audience to answer this question while we're taking the break, which is, what does wealth mean to you?
Learn to put practical prayer to work in your life. The steps are simple to learn and let you begin to get real results to create the life of your dreams immediately. Reverend Bill Marcione's widely acclaimed book, Practical Prayer for Real Results, gives you a clear summary of the New Thought principles behind practical prayer and the series of easy-to-understand steps found in the most effective prayers from religions and spiritual practices all over the world and throughout history. Practical prayer is not a replacement for your religion or practice. It's a technique to make the work you do in consciousness even more effective. The book includes 40 prayers on various topics that you can adapt as needed and use as your own. Practical Prayer for Real Results is available in paperback, Kindle, and audiobook on Amazon or at b-the-light.com. That's b-the-light.com.
Welcome back to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I'm Carol, here with Reverend Dr. Bill Marcione.
Having a wonderful conversation about personal abundance, and we were up to wealth, which was the question that I posed prior to the break. What does wealth mean to you? And for different people, it means different things. Some people think wealth is, it's yachts and private jets and gold baubles and millions of dollars and champagne every time you turn around. But that's actually luxury. What does wealth mean? What is wealth to you? And being honest with ourselves about what we think wealth is can be really valuable. Do you have a working definition, or you don't care?
No, I do care, but I've redefined it, because I'm still stuck on enoughness. And to be honest with you, I've never been dissatisfied with what I have. The things that are most important to me, I've never been dissatisfied. People have told me that I shouldn't be satisfied.
They.
That's another, a whole other episode. But when I thought about it, I've always been wealthy in a lot of ways because I've always had enough for what I wanted at the time, and I didn't realize that I wasn't, something was wrong with me because I didn't know that I had a poverty mentality until somebody told me. And I said to myself, I'm not quite sure I do.
Right. You leaned against your grand piano in the living room and said, do I have a poverty mentality?
I don't, but and if I don't have it, like I'm so in the moment, and this is not a big, like a big spiritual thing. I just care what I care about. I told somebody that one time and just I care what I care about. And what I care about is I'm working on that right now. So now you want me to think about other stuff. Now, okay, do I have a poverty mentality because I don't want a jet? I don't need the jet right now. What I need is what I'm working on right now. Mm-hmm. And that might mean nothing to you, but it means everything to me. So I do what the ascended masters tell us. Just don't talk about it. Just
keep it to yourself.
Just keep it to yourself. And
a working definition of wealth is could be financial freedom, which is an experience of plenty, and it's when it comes to money, enough to spend, share, and save.
Mm-hmm.
And for some people, that's wealth. And my friend and colleague, Edwene Gaines, just an event with her a couple of weeks ago, who's been teaching prosperity issues for decades, was so impoverished she didn't have two nickels to rub together. And at this point in her life, as she describes it, she never has to look at another price tag.
Mm-hmm.
So if she wants something, she can buy it. And somewhere along the path in there is wealth and prosperity, that feeling of enoughness. The idea of lack of prosperity, or lack in any manner, lack of prosperity or poverty, is all about wanting the experience to be different than it is.
Mm-hmm.
So there are people in the United States who have very low incomes, and compared to people with very low incomes elsewhere in the world, they have a lot. But they're not comparing themselves to those people. They're comparing themselves to the other people who are in their city or their neighborhood. So it becomes a matter of perspective and framing. What is it that we're looking at? What are we comparing ourselves to? And the experience of enoughness, that experience of abundance, is a breath away. Let go of my attachment to things being different than they are. Invite in the experience that I want to be having. Because a lot of times there's a chain of events in our heads. Oh, I need to have money. Well, why do I need to have money? Well, it's because my nephew is sick and he needs medical attention and medical care, and his family doesn't have enough to pay for that. So if I had money, then I could pay for that, and that would solve the problem. Well, there's other ways to solve the problem. You don't want money. What you really want is for the kid to get medical care, mm-hmm. or health care, or to be healthy. Mm-hmm. All right. So you set the intention for what you really want to have happen, and then the kid suddenly gets healthy, like snaps out of it. It's a spontaneous healing and remission. Is that okay? Didn't involve any money. Mm-hmm. We need to be clear about what is the experience that I want to be having, set the intention for that, and not get in our own way.
So how about, I think about it, and I do think about it like that. I do. I also think about where it is right now is not where it's going to be not too long from now. And I'm so very cool with that. If this is working right now, I know this is what I've got, and it's going to be better. It's going to take me where I need to go. Number one, it's all I've got. So why spend, because if you're not satisfied with that, you're going to look at other people and try to mimic them because they have more. They're doing it. Let me do it that way. That'll lead you. You'll just be crazy, Mm-hmm. So yeah, I pay attention to what I have now. And does that mean that I feel like I live in abundance? I don't know. I don't think of it like that. Like maybe I should, but I don't. I know that I've got a goal or a vision, mm-hmm. or, a Neville thing, I have an end, and I have no doubt there's nothing that makes me think I'm not going to get there. So I don't have to stress it. I just have to deal with what I got right now, mm-hmm. which is enough in the moment. And when I need more, it's going to show up because it is necessary. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe that's childish, but I don't think so.
No.
Because I'm not going to spend time that I should be relaxing and laughing with my husband. I'm not going to spend it worrying about, oh my God, I don't have enough to get, Yeah.
We were doing a meditation a couple of weeks back, and somebody was very low energy. And I said, well, what do you want to pray for? And the response was, unlimited energy. And I said, nope, not going to do that. And the question was, well, why not? It's like, okay, because the sun has a lot of energy. Mm-hmm. And I don't want that here. So I don't want unlimited energy. I just want enough. I want that experience of plenty. plenty of energy, that vim and vigor, that vitality, that spring in my step, that the perfect amount of energy. Because after I've had 3 cups of coffee, having 3 more is not going to help.
No.
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 There's a level and there's a balance that's good. And you can understand when somebody says, I want unlimited energy, but that's not actually what they want. They want that until they start getting it. And then the caffeine shakes start, and then it starts getting hotter. It's like, whoa, stop.
Yeah. It's helping me, a person define what they really want, which is helpful, because if they can define it, they can own it and figure out how the principles land in that which they own.
Yeah. As our minds are telling us about the things that we want to have, and when we think about abundance, what we think about is the things the areas where we don't feel abundant. There's a really good, and this is an intellectual, mental tool. This is not spiritual. It feeds our spiritual awareness. So ask why. There's something I want to have. Why do I want to have that? Well, because then I'll have this. Okay, well, why do I want to have that? And you just keep on asking yourself until you get down to what's the feeling that you want to have once you get all of this stuff. And then circle back to, if I had the feeling that I was looking for, do I need all that other stuff? Is that all a means to an end? I want to have a nice house in a wonderful neighborhood. I've done the vision boards about what my perfect home is, looks like. And I'm just so unattached to it. It's like there's lots of fun things about, the lotto jackpot winning experience of life. I don't need it. I'm not going to sit here pining until, I have hundreds of millions of dollars available to me. I'm okay with it. I'd be willing to give that a test drive, see how my life goes, with $100 million. It's not necessary.
One of the things that I think about is, what am I willing to pay for what I want? And so if I want this, for example, I live in a tiny condo, which is perfectly fine for the definition of, what is it? Active community, active adult, whatever. But for me, I've always been in a very large house, so I feel cramped all the time, and most of the time. And so I had this big vision and what I wanted, and I just elaborated on it as it goes. And here's what came to me. Suppose you could have this dream house. It's got, just to give you an idea, it's got windows on 3 sides, and the ocean is right there in view, and it's just fabulous. Suppose you could have it right now today, but suppose it's not in the United States. Right? Because I love BritBox criminal shows, detective shows. I love it. So that's probably where a lot of the dream stuff comes, because there's lots of water and oceanfront property and those things. Suppose you had to leave the United States, but you could have it. What are you willing to pay? The cost would be to leave your children behind, with the internet, you can go anywhere, but there's a lot you have to leave. Are you willing to pay for that? And I thought about it. And I said, I'm just not sure. Let me think. Now, maybe a year ago, I would have said absolutely not, because I'm all tangled up with my kids. But within the last year, I'm like letting them little knuckleheads go. And
they'll be okay.
And I'm thinking, okay, I might think about that. But as an example, nothing is free. It's going to cost you something. Even if it doesn't cost you money, it's going to cost you something. And that's, so I thought about it. I said, okay, it's not that I no longer would have this dream house, but I'm now aware of the possibility of what I might have to do to get it. Let me think about this. Because
Ernest Holmes said that we pay for healing and transformation in spiritual coin.
Yeah.
Same thing. What am I willing to pay? What am I willing to change in consciousness What attachments am I willing to let go of in order to have this next experience that I want to have? And when we first get started in this, it's really easy. It's like there's some very simple assumptions that we can let go of, and suddenly there's parking spaces and green lights and happy coincidences showing up in our life. And we have to keep working the program in order to keep doing that. What am I willing to pay, to give up in spiritual coin to make room for that newness that I'm looking for? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's spiritual coin, and it's practical as well. What are you going to do? There are certain things that just wouldn't make sense for me to drag with me to another country. But the reason I have them is because I like them. So, that it gets down to that, and it makes me, to me, it makes you stretch a little bit now I understand that there's a cost beyond, the dream of magic happening. Magic can happen, but there's even a cost for the magic.
Yeah,
So
there's some details in there.
Yeah.
Let's take another break, and then we're going to do a practical prayer. And the practical prayer is going to be about that balance point between what we desire and what we're willing to pay. It's Reverend Bill letting you know that the Practical Prayer for Real Results class is now available on demand. That's right, you can take it at your own pace, anytime you want. All of the information is at bethelight.com. That's b-the-light.com. You know where to find that stuff. The class is 5 lessons, broken down into 18 modules, and you can take them at whatever pace is comfortable for you. As you work through the process, it starts out with the theory, goes into the practice, there are experiential activities and exercises, and at the end of the program, you will wind up with an understanding of how practical prayer works, and a practical prayer for yourself that will work to create transformation in your life. And as you know, it works for everything. Take a look at the class online at bethelight.com. There's a sample lesson so you can see how the class is going to work for you, and then dive in. The great news is it's on sale now. You can register and save $20 off of the regular price. I'm looking forward to seeing you in class.
Welcome back to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I'm Carol, here with Reverend Bill Marcioni.
We have been talking about personal abundance, or our experience of abundance, or experience of prosperity in an infinitely abundant universe, and a lot of discussion about where that balance point is. So we're going to do a prayer. We're going to do a practical prayer about being in that place of balance, where what we're desiring, what we're wanting to experience in our life, and what we are experiencing in our life are the same. That is an experience of prosperity, and that's prosperity in our finances, that's prosperity in our health, in our relationships, in our comfort, because I don't need to remind you that when somebody strikes it rich and they've got tons and tons of money, but then they get diagnosed with a terminal disease, the money doesn't mean anything anymore. It's like, oh, whoa, I have to spend this quick and see if I can have some fun while I do it. There's plenty of room for difficulty and challenge in our life. And that experience that we're looking for, that experience of enoughness, of abundance, of sufficiency, is in all the areas of our life. So let's do a prayer on that. So the idea is to allow, embody, surrender, so we can accept. Start by taking a deep, full breath out. Let yourself become empty and available and receptive. And then whenever it's comfortable to breathe in, go ahead and do that. Let yourself be filled. Notice that there's exactly enough air for this breath, for this moment. And then let it go again and continue that. And use that as a reminder that all of the good that is necessary is available in every breath. And the same thing is true all the time. Because there's one creative power, one divine presence, one love, one source that is sharing itself as its creation. That one is the one that is providing this breath. That one is providing each of us as an individual desiring that breath. And there's that perfect balance that's happening. It is available. It is fulfillment. It is sufficiency. And in the same way that we don't have to struggle for that next breath, it is available to us as long as we are able to embody it. We get to be filled. And that infinite creative power that creates everything has in fact created each of us. It is creating this next moment as us now. Whatever path we have been on has brought us to this particular moment now, this intersection in space and time. And what happens next is not limited by what's happened before. Anything is possible. This is a universe of infinite possibilities. So as we each surrender our attachment to how it looks, to how it works, to how it's going to happen, to the sequence of events that we've figured out that need to happen in order for the good that we're seeking to come into being, as we let go of that, as we surrender that and allow that infinite creative power that is within to start creating something new, we open ourselves up to those new possibilities. They happen. And that experience of abundance, of enoughness, of sufficiency begins showing up in new and different ways, or in completely familiar and repeated ways in our lives. The health and vitality and well-being and comfort in our physical bodies. The prosperity, financial freedom, and enoughness in our state of affairs. The richness and love and connection in our relationships. The creativity and the satisfaction in our work. The depth of awareness in our spirituality. It all unfolds in new and uplifting and delightful ways. Because that infinite creative power is always saying yes. It is always saying yes. So as we let go of our focus and attachment on things that are not up to our desired level, as we are willing to do the work in transformation that's ours to do, in order for our lives to experience change, we need to change. There might be something we need to release. So we're each guided to that which is ours to let go of, and are following that guidance. Maybe this isn't what I wanted. Maybe I'm not willing to give that up. Maybe that's not a change that I want to have happen. But the awareness is at hand for each of us in our own way. And the good unfolds. And the awareness of the good unfolding shows up for each of us with clarity and insight. That's what I'm claiming. That is the good that I'm claiming now. And I know that it's already happening because that one infinite creative power that creates everything is already creating this. That creative law is already responding to this intentional invitation. I'm so grateful for it. I'm grateful for the willingness of each one to participate in this good. I'm grateful for the way that the law is responding, and I'm grateful to be able to speak this word and release it into that same creative law that creates everything. And to know it's now creating this. So I let it be. I let it be. And so it is.
The Practical Prayer Podcast with Reverend Bill Marcioni and Carol Lawrence is a production of BeTheLight.com.
be-the-light.com.
Where you can find more information about practical prayer for real results.
Our theme is by Music of Wisdom. You can learn about the spiritual community of New Thought Philadelphia with daily guided meditations,
Weekly celebrations of spirit,
and Reverend Bill's classes in practical spirituality
at newthoughtphilly.org.
This podcast is supported by listeners like you. We're grateful for your tax-deductible donation at newthoughtphilly.org or the link in the episode description.